May God bless you this morning. I hope you've had a great week, a great Christmas, and looking forward to a blessed year. Um, there's something particular about the way that I finish every year. Some of you finish it with family and traveling, visiting friends, eating with people that you like or that you love. And it's a great time, Christmas and end of the year and a happy new year, we say to each other. It's a particular way that Catherine and I have celebrated it since 2010. That's when I asked her if she wanted to be my girlfriend. And particularly, it was December 25th, 2010. So we just finished 15 years of being in love with each other. Well, I love her, and I hope she does love me as well, right? Um, but there's something else that happened along the way, and this happened exactly 5 years ago today. My son Noah was born. 5 years old. He's turning today, and so it's a big celebration for us every 28th of December. This is actually the first time in 5 years that it falls on a Sunday. He was born on a Monday, and so every year it kind of scoots down. And first time we celebrated on a Sunday, we actually had a little bit of a cake in Kentucky on Thursday or Wednesday with some of my American family, the family that kind of adopted me for about 22 years. I'm not adopted, but it's my American family down there in Kentucky. And so he celebrated with his cousins. And then yesterday, his classmates from school and Sophia was here as well. Many of the other kids couldn't make it. It's Christmas. It's a difficult time for them to make it. So anyway, um, and something particular about yesterday, this kid right here, her name is Grace, and she was here yesterday, and her dad walked in here, and her dad said, and I've seen her dad at school, but you know what her dad said to me? He said, I was baptized in that baptistry when I was 10 years old. It's amazing. You never know. It's one of those things. So now that I will see him at school, because his daughter and my son are classmates, Grace and Noah are classmates, I have that connection with him. And so that's great. And so it seems to me that I often finish the year on a high. And I don't know if this happens to you. But like I finish the year on a high, on a very high, because it's my son's birthday. Catherine and I celebrate. We feel blessed. And it's a feeling. You feel blessed. But I have a question for you, and you don't have to answer yet. Have you been blessed this year? And sometimes what happens is that we try to qualify the year that we've lived. And we say, some of us have said this, and it's okay, but some of us have said, this has been a very blessed year. Or we say, this hasn't been the most blessed year. Some people say that, and that's okay. We are humans. We may even have songs that make us think about a list of blessings. Take, for instance, this song, Count Your Blessings. Look at this. Count your many blessings, name them one by one. I don't want you to do that today. I don't want you to get a piece of paper. I don't want you to make a list. This is blessing number 1 and blessing number 2 and number 3. And then you compare it with somebody else and you say, why do they have more blessings than I? I don't want you to do that today. But it's interesting that we have all those things. And the first thing that I want you to understand is that we are blessed by Jesus. And basically, we are blessed, period. I want us to reframe our thoughts and feelings to understand that we are blessed by Jesus. See, Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said, blessed are, not if, but blessed are those. And those are us who are following him. And so the word blessed, the word here makarios in Greek, appears 50 times in the Bible, all of them in the New Testament, but 30 times in the Gospels. Now, 27 or 28 of those times are said by Jesus, but the other three are basically about Jesus. One time was to Mary in the beginning of the book of Luke about his birth, about the birth of Jesus. And the angel said to Mary, "Blessed are you, blessed is she." You may remember that, and all the Magnificat and all of that. Well, this is an angel from God saying to Mary that she's blessed. Then it was said one time to Jesus in Luke 11, and one time with Jesus in Luke 14. And we're going to see Luke 11 in just a minute. But the whole idea that I want you to think is that the 30 times that in the Gospels, the word Makarios, prayers, is basically about Jesus or with Jesus or by Jesus. And so all of us who are in Jesus, I want us to think that we are blessed, period. Because being blessed, I hope, is not temporary for us. Being blessed is not because we have health. Being blessed is not because we live in a powerful country or nation because we have stuff. Being blessed is not temporary. Being blessed is not because my two kids are great and handsome like their father. No, I'm just kidding. Being blessed is not because my two kids are healthy and we have no issues. Being blessed is not because Catherine's dad no longer has cancer. Those could be felt. They could be felt like blessings. And we pray for them. But we are blessed, period. It's not a temporary situation. We are blessed by Jesus, period. And I hope we learn that from today. I hope that we can look back on the year that we've had and realize that because we are in Jesus, we are blessed, and that it is not a temporary thing. We are blessed by Jesus. I hope we learned that. And also, we are blessed because we are approved by God. It's a way in which we are blessed. The word Makarios, here, when a person is blessed by God, he or she is approved by God. So when Jesus is saying, Makarios, basically they understood that they were approved by God. Blessed is not, oh, how lucky you are. No. Blessed is God is approving you. And see, the opposite of Makarios, of being blessed, is this word, which is the status of one who is not approved by God. And of course, in Luke 11, as I mentioned before, there's this woman who's going to say something about Jesus, and she's going to use the word Makarios. In Luke 11:27, Jesus is talking, and this woman in the crowd said, "Blessed is she, the mother who gave you birth and nursed you." Blessed is she. And Jesus responds and says, "Rather, blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it." And so, this is the way that he responds. And of course, Mary was blessed. There's nothing wrong with what she is saying. The angel had told Mary that she is blessed. And so basically she's saying a truth here. But the way Jesus responds is that the true blessed person is the one that is approved by God, the one that does his will. And that's why in the following months, and we just started with 3 Sundays about the Sermon on the Mount, and we're going to see all of those topics. We haven't even started with them. We're in the Beatitudes. We're in the beginning, the introduction of the Sermon on the Mount, but Jesus is clear about how he wants to start his sermon. That we, the followers, are blessed. And not everyone, Jesus says at the end, all of this, and I want you to remember this, all of this that happens in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus has a conclusion. The introduction is the Beatitudes. Then there is the body of the Sermon on the Mount, which is this. Some of us look at it separately. Some of the men who are going to be preaching here are going to be looking at it separately, which is great. But let's remember that the conclusion of the Sermon on the Mount is this. This is the conclusion. This is the end. This is the closing. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, which Jesus began speaking in Matthew 5 about the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And not everyone will enter it, but only those who are approved by God, those who do His will. Everyone who hears these words of mine, Jesus says, and practices them is like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. But he says the contrast is everyone who hears and doesn't practice these words of mine is like a foolish man who built his house upon the sand. And so the question here for you, for us, don't answer it yet, is have we been approved in 2025? We're finishing the year. We got 3 more days. Have we been approved? Or the following question is, will you be approved in 2026? What I want you to understand is that if you are blessed by Jesus because you're following Him, if you're following Him, it's got to be a yes. Yes, I am blessed by Jesus. And second, yes, I am approved by God. But not because, oh, look how good I am doing it. It's not because I got a list of things that I'm checking to make sure I am approved by God, but because I'm following Jesus and putting into practice the words that He has spoken, I am approved by God. And it's so hard for us humans to know that we are being approved by God if somebody doesn't tell us. And some of us need that. I have a great wife. Like I said, we've been finishing the year on a high since 2010. That's when I asked her to be my girlfriend. And she said yes. And since then, we've had this great relationship. And I have a great wife, and sometimes I need to hear from her that, hey, I'm being approved by God. Because some of us sometimes may not believe it. And that is one issue. That is one side of the issue. If you don't believe it, if it's hard for you to believe it, if you feel guilt, and you have to come to church to make up, to see if one day you can make it to heaven to be approved by God. Jesus doesn't want you to do that. Jesus wants you to know that because you're following Him, you are approved by God. The other side of the coin is those who don't think about themselves whether they're not approved or not, but they think about everybody else. And they think people, others, are not approved by God. And their focus changes from their own, I'm not approved by God, to maybe no one is really approved by God. And if you have that heart, whether you're on the side of, maybe I'm not approved by God, or you're on the side of, maybe nobody is, you're going to have a really hard time following Jesus. Because Jesus wants you to know that you are approved by God, number one. And number two, Jesus doesn't want you to focus on whether others are not approved by God. Jesus wants you to focus on your own and be an example for others. And so we are blessed by Jesus, number one. And number two, we are blessed because we are approved by God. And number three, this is really, I hope this really makes it home. But number three, we are blessed for good choices. Been watching a lot of Christmas movies. I haven't had enough. I put some Christmas songs on the way here, and I told Catherine, it's no longer Christmas, but hey, I didn't get enough Christmas songs this morning, so I'm putting the Christmas playlist again on the car. I don't know. I just have this feeling about Christmas songs and stuff. But I grew up watching a particular movie called Home Alone. That movie came out in 1990. My wife wasn't even born. I don't know if you knew that. It's not a new movie. But I love that movie growing up. Well, last year I kind of tried to watch it with Noah, and he was turning 4, and I don't know, those two guys, the mobs, they're not the good guys, and he was kind of scared, so he didn't want to watch it. Okay, great. Well, this year he fell in love with it. I don't know how many times in December we've watched Home Alone. And we've been traveling. We went to Kentucky the other day, and he was like, Home Alone. You remember in Thanksgiving? The Lion King. He wanted to watch The Lion King all the way. Now he wants to watch Home Alone. And then I was introduced to another movie on the Christmas Eve. I was in Kentucky, and my American mom, Donna Harris, she said, it is my tradition to watch this movie every Christmas Eve. And I said, which one? And she said, do you want to watch it with me? And I said, which one is it? And she said, It's a Wonderful Life. It's like a 1946 movie. Donna Reed and this guy. But here's something about those two movies. And basically any movie that I watch with Noah is like, I keep telling Noah, bad choice. And he's like, bad choice. And then bad choice. So for instance, in Home Alone, Kevin does a lot. He makes lots of bad choices. Lots, right? Not only him, his parents as well, and his uncle and everybody in that movie. Anyway, it's probably not a great movie for 2025, but the point is that I watched that movie, and the whole time I'm watching with Noah, and I'm telling him, bad choice, and he's like, bad choice, Kevin. Then 5 minutes later, bad choice, Kevin. And then Noah's like, bad choice, Kevin. And then with this guy, I don't know if you've watched the movie or you've watched it recently, but he makes lots of bad choices. He even kicks a chair. And I don't know, for some people that may be normal, but it's not. He kicks a chair and talks back to the wife and to the kids, and he's frustrated. He wishes he wasn't born. And so the angel grants him the wish, and he was never born. So the whole time I'm like, bad choice. And Noah's like, bad choice. And I hear Donna and Kenny like laughing and cracking out because Noah is repeating bad choice. Well, I'm trying intentionally for my kids to learn to make good choices because it'll help them in life to make good choices. But I want you to understand this. For instance, in Psalm 1:1, it says, blessed is the one who does this or does not that. Okay? We get that. That is great. And I want you to understand something that is a little bit different from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Here's the main difference that I want you to understand. The Old Testament, you are basically blessed by your good choices. But in the New Testament, I want you to understand that we are blessed for good choices. Now, a lot in the New Testament is also like the Old Testament. For instance, honor your father and mother so that you will have, a long life. And there are promises. Okay, so there will be a blessing if I do this. But see, in the Old Testament, it's all about that. There are not only 10 commandments, there's like 600 commandments. If you do that, you will be blessed. They couldn't keep up. It was hard for them to stay blessed. But see, in the New Testament, when we see the Sermon on the Mount, the introduction by Jesus is basically, you are blessed. Now go and make good choices. And if you hear these words of mine, if you hear those words, you will be wise. If you practice them, you will be wise. And see, it's a lot different if we learn this, that Jesus is blessing us, that we are approved by God, and that because I am blessed, I am going to make good choices more than the other way around, more than I am making good choices so that I can get blessings. No. We need to show the world that we are members of the kingdom of heaven and that we are blessed already. And therefore, we're going to make good choices. We want to be like that wise man because our foundation is a rock, which is Jesus Christ. We don't want to be foolish. We don't want to build on sand. We don't want to say to the world, hey, if you do all these things, you will be blessed. If you do all these things, you're going to start getting blessings. We want to tell the world that we are blessed because we are in Jesus. We are wise because we're trying to be like Jesus. And we're not foolish because there's no way that we don't want to be like Jesus. We are blessed, but we could also leave the blessing. We could also stop and say, Jesus, I don't want your blessing no longer. And I hope that you don't do that. In 2026, that is coming up, you have a choice. You are already blessed, but it's your choice to make it good or bad. And it wouldn't be wise. That wouldn't be wise if you left the blessing of Jesus. That would actually be very foolish if you left the blessing of Jesus. So my hope and prayer today is that you have a blessed 2026 in Jesus. If you're in Jesus in 2026, guess what? You are going to be blessed. I can act as a prophet today, and I can say, hey, I see that you are going to have a blessed 2026 year. And you're going to say, wow, Diego just read something. Diego just read our minds or thoughts or the future. I'm telling you, and I'm promising you, because Jesus has promised us, we are blessed, period. You're going to have a 2026 very blessed if you stay in Jesus. Because those who follow him and those who stay with him are being approved by God for good choices. And you will be full of good choices in 2026 if you stay in Jesus. Perhaps this morning you have a need. This is the last Sunday of the year, the 52nd Sunday of 2025. Perhaps you have a need. Perhaps you need prayer. Perhaps you need somebody else to be there with you and tell you, hey, you are being blessed. You are being approved. Come on. 2026 will be a blessed year. Perhaps you need that. And if that is your need, then I want you to think about it and to come to Jesus to continue being blessed. Thank you for your time. I hope this lesson is applicable to you as it is to me. And may God bless you the rest of 2025. And may God bless you even more in 2026.